Hey guys, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I do progressive reviews, which means I do continuous reviews on games as they update continuously. Imagine that, and I also do them episodically. So I thought it'd be fun to go back to the world of Warcraft, especially with Battle for Azeroth, which seems to really be kind of trying to tug at people who have left the game and are trying to appease returning players, as well as those who have played for a really long time, which is me. I've used to play in vanilla, and so I wanted to get back in the game, but I wanted to start from the ground up so that I could tell my audience and all my friends and family here, is it worth getting into, and what kind of hurdles do you have to get over, because it is an older game, just kind of band-aided over and over again, but it's a super solid foundation, absolutely. I think we can all agree with that. The World of Warcraft is, well, it's not dead for a reason. It's doing great for a reason, but is the early game really that reason? You see, World of Warcraft is an endgame game. It's all about the endgame dungeoning, leveling experience, and the raiding, of course. That's really where the money goes. That's why you pay what you pay, and that's why they do what they do. But people who are just getting into the game, they have no idea what that's like. They have no concept of that, and they're gonna have to kind of test the game with what they give you at the very beginning. And this video is gonna be talking about that experience. This is gonna be the 1 through 20 experience that you can play with the free trial. Now, if you do have a subscription, you then also get an additional trial, so you can play all the classes at level 100, and you get a really good feel of those classes and how they're gonna play, their rotations. I mean, that's like endgame stuff. But level 1 through 20, you barely have any part of your kit. You just kind of get a glimpse of maybe the theme of the class, and you don't even really get the core abilities that quickly. You don't even really get much at all, and it's not exactly in the order that I would personally pick it. But we're gonna go over and nitpick all of it, and we're gonna criticize all of the experience so that you know exactly which speed bumps you're gonna be hitting, as well as also applaud the fact that actually, the World of Warcraft looks better than it ever has. It has been consistently updated, and while some things are band-aids, some things are complete revamps, especially since Cataclysm. A lot of quests have been completely revamped. The world looks better than ever. The post-processing, some things just straight up have more polygons, better animations, and especially if you do consider add-ons that the community has created, the World of Warcraft is, I think, really actually looks better than most MMOs. But in the end, it is a game, so we need to talk about the gameplay, the overall flow, the RPG of this title, as well as how massive it is. How quickly do you get into the World of Warcraft and really experience that massivity as a free trial player? What do you get to really feel? When do you do it? And overall, how does it fare and compare to modern MMOs, true modern MMOs such as Guild Wars 2 and Elder Scrolls that pretty much immediately throw you out and start doing the do. A lot of action, you immediately start feeling the true mechanics of the games. Does WoW really commit to that? Does WoW really do that? Or is it too slow? Or is it give and take? Because there are different starting zones. Well, we're going to be jumping directly into the game now for a live component, and I'm going to be nitpicking every little thing that's going to happen for the first few levels, which will pretty much dictate the overall flow for the rest of the leveling experience, and then we'll, after that, continue with our post-play review. All right, so thanks for joining me here for the live component of our review. I need to do it in this fashion so that I can really get down and dirty and nitpick exactly what's going to happen when you get into the game. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do is basically just like turn off all my add-ons. You see, as a brand new player, you're not gonna have any. I do immediately suggest that you find some. I know it's gonna be impossible, basically, to figure out which ones you should have and which ones you shouldn't have, but the difference in play style, actually, mechanically, it'll change how you play, but also just like, it makes a lot of stuff very visually appealing. I definitely like dynamic cam, actually, a lot myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new character, and I've done this on stream over and over again for all the different races and classes, and immediately what I can tell you, which I've already did in another video, is that Undead and then the Hunter is the best, easiest, quickest, and probably most fun in roleplay starter experience out there. However, I can definitely second Troll, as well as Worgen starting zone was also pretty good. And then if you saw my character creator review, you know that the Worgen female is pretty ugly. Tauren are a little bit more fat than they should be. And yeah, I got some complaints there, but those are two other videos you want to check out for the full encompassing review, since I do these episodically. But what we're going to make today is we're actually going to just really quickly, I'm going to do Blood Elf, because I know the starting zone very well, and it's very easy to jump in. It's very pretty, I think, as well. But I'm going to show you immediately what happens if you try to play as a warlock. So immediately you see that you are going to get a pet eventually. Now the hunter looks the same too. And these are going to be the two classes that I'm going to be directly comparing and contrasting because they're both ranged damage rolls. But they should have a similar concept with pets, and they do eventually in the end game. But leveling, it doesn't really feel that great. So yes, customization, you're not going to have much. Again, you're going to want to see the full review of that later, but basically there's not much at all. If I just hit randomize, you can see a couple of different options. Blood Elf is actually one of the most myriad of customizations that you can have. But yeah, even then, you can see it's really not that crazy. So we're going to choose this name and this guy, and we're just going to hit finish. And now you did see at the top that I could actually choose to do a trial. Again, that is not available to free trial people. That is only if you have a subscription that you can then test the class at the very end. But we're going to enter the world here. Now there is going to be a cinematic, which I really like. I love the voiceover. I love the story that it tells, but I'm going to skip it because I think you guys should enjoy that and be engrossed by that whenever you do role play when you get into the game yourself. The load times aren't that intense. I don't like that this is not HD loading screens. The new expansion brings that in with Legion, but I think that they should revamp those. So the first thing you're going to see when you get in the game is it's going to look like this. You might see new players. Battle for Azeroth is trying to do some cool things with getting new players back in leveling, and there's definitely a revamp with leveling. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but the first thing you're just going to see is this. Your key bindings are actually going to be different than this too. You're going to see probably 1 through, equal sign. Like every MMO that doesn't have custom stuff immediately put in, you're going to want to change that. So yeah, I mean, you can customize it. It's just super, annoying. There's a lot of interface stuff that you're going to want. You're going to want auto loop. Check that on. That turns off every time. You're going to want to change this probably through 1 through 5. Mouse button 1, 2, and then here you want Q, E, R, probably Z, X, C, V, stuff like that. I did a whole video on that, really using Guild Wars 2 as a great example. You're going to want to change that immediately. So a lot of clunky things that could immediately be changed on Blizzard's end, but they chose to just keep it the way it is. Hey, at least you do have full control, and you do have the ability to create macros, which is freaking fantastic, and I wish more MMOs did that, but there's some quality of life changes that I think WoW could do. So that's one of those things. It's really awkward. Another thing that you're going to just probably real quick look at is make sure that you actually have all of your abilities. Whenever you're leveling, you're going to get new abilities. And sometimes whenever you switch these different little talents, these different specializations, it's not going to actually put all the things on there. So just make sure you got them all. Just kind of read over the stuff. Yeah, but it kind of sucks that you do got to do that. The quests that you're going to be facing aren't really going to teach you that great. So as you just saw, I just quickly accepted that. I didn't even read it.
Our enemies
because
will fall.
look at all the words. That's honestly, it's a lot of words, and not everybody's gonna read the quests. You don't have to. You can see over here in the map, you actually get a little indicator of what to do, where to go. Basically, you can just kind of AFK, essentially, just glaze your eyes over the screen and just kind of click on the things that are shining. I trust you, so that you can do that at least. So here we go. We have to kill 6 mana worm slain. Now, how long will this take? You can also see that anything that you need to kill or use for a quest, it has a little shine over it down there. So we got to kill these mana worms. That's our first quest. You're going to find many, hundreds of these kind of quests. Kill 6 of this, 7 of that, whatever. Pick up 3 of this. And these are the kind of quests that are going to be your introduction. Now, some classes actually and races will have some really cool quests to do, but for the most part, this is going to be it. So we're playing Warlock for a specific reason. And that's because level 1, this is what you're doing. You're pressing 1, and then you're just doing this. 1, 1. You're just doing this over and over. You're just standing still. 1. Standing still. Just 1. 2-second cast time, I believe. So this is what you're doing. So for 6 creatures, you're just kind of spending your time doing this. And this is actually terribly boring. You have no skill ceiling with this at all. There's not even a skill floor. You're just standing still. And not only that, but to mention, we start out with a staff, but we actually don't have a ranged weapon. See, mages previously, we could use wands, and you can get wands. You can equip wands, but you can't auto attack. See, if I try to get up close and just try to auto attack, I can eventually. It does 5 damage. You know how long it would take to kill this thing with just auto attacks? So essentially, unlike MOBAs, or unlike actually vanilla World of Warcraft, auto attacks for most classes and all mage classes are pointless, which is going to feel especially pointless when you play Shaman, unless you actually get the melee specialization. It's just really, really freaking boring. So we're going to do this here. And yeah, also to note, the clothing design, you're gonna, as you level, it's gonna be pretty uproarious. But I want to immediately level to level 2, show you how long that takes. I think reviews should really give you a feeling of what the game actually plays like, and that's what it's gonna be. You'll also see me not looting because there's no point. A lot of the new loot that you would get low level, pretty much all through the game, is just gonna be kind of trash. You just get all you need from quests and things, so pretty much good to go. So there we go. We complete the quest, and we will be leveling up really soon here. We're going to accept this new one. Now we got to kill 8 lynxes, or actually maybe more. They did up the drop rates, which is really fantastic. So we're going to be doing this. We got to go find some lynxes. They moved them over here, it looks like. And yeah, no, it's fantastic. The game world looks great. As you can see, everything is actually graphically set to ultra, all that good stuff. The game world's going to look great, and this is the Blood Elf zone, which actually hasn't been touched in a long time. So the game is actually going to look only better, depending on the zone that you are in. Though I think Blood Elves look pretty fantastic. I love the coloring and things like that. So we're going to be running around looking for some kitties to kill, and we got to do this. And I'm doing this live so you can really feel, you know, how like how pessimistic I am. You know, really feel the trudge of trying to really level in the World of Warcraft. Being an MMO, you have to compete with people as they do stuff and things, especially on popular servers. But here we go. We can kill a cub here. I'm going to do this. Now, they did change it so that everyone can loot at the same time. You know, as long as we tag stuff together, it's fine. So keep that in mind, actually. So we did just level up, and as you notice, we got no new skills. So yes, as you level, you will actually have dead skills. Like, you're not getting anything. I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. There's nothing here. So it was basically a pointless level. We're still stuck just doing Shadow Bolt. This is going to be the case for stuff and things. For a lot of stuff and things, probably. So I did Shadow Bolt. Did that count as a kill? No, it didn't count as targeting the thing. So a lot of people are just, you know, leveling right now, killing these things. You're going to see people with really cool gear because they have heirloom stuff. So that's a thing that's happening. And it's quite the tragedy. Quite the tragedy. But I guess it's better to see players in an MMO and interact with them versus not at all, which could be the case for a lot of servers. So your early game experience is going to depend if you want to be on a populated server or not. So we got our first Lynx caller. That's going to happen. Trying to kill stuff and things. Now the priest actually has a much quicker time to kill things. So yeah, this is kind of going along. So I should be able to loot this. See, I can, even though that was actually his target first. In vanilla World of Warcraft, if somebody tagged the mob first, then they were the one who could only loot it. So it's a good thing that changed there. As you can see, the Paladin over there is actually... Is that the Paladin? Yeah, it's a Paladin. He's actually doing auto attacks and doing spells and running all over the place. And, you know, it just kind of seems a little bit more fun, doesn't it? It just seems a little bit more exciting. Now, I do get a dot later in the next level, but it's honestly, I'm actually already bored to death. But the Warlock can level a little bit faster once it gets its pet, once it starts getting its dots and things, but... you know what, honestly, just, I can't even handle this right now. Okay, guys, now to just be completely fair, just to illustrate my point, I am now going to make a hunter, and now we're going to see how fast we can level up like this. So we're just going to randomize the name, hit finish, and there we go, a level 1 hunter, Noradori, apparently. Loading in, same zone, same server, same everything, but a different class. And now I'm going to show you immediately how fast we can actually do the stuff and things. So here we go. We immediately picked up, and now, oh, I just hit a training dummy. But now we're gonna kill a mana worm. So we actually start with our pet, and what the pet allows me to do. Oh, and look at these auto attacks. 21 damage auto attack. I get insta casts, spells. I can move around freely. I think you should be immediately aware. Like, look at this. Like, look at this insanity, dude. I can actually tag one monster and then start attacking another, and then I can actually just start attacking another. And my pet would eventually kill all of them. I don't have so he'll like my pet is actually doing damage as I'm rotating through the different ones. They're actually being taunted by the pet. And look at this. Look how immediate, like this immediately feels like, yo, I'm playing a hunter. I have a pet. I'm using the pet mechanically. I'm using all of the mechanics of World of Warcraft, or at least beginning to. And I'm starting to learn also about resource management. Where did you notice with the Warlock, I didn't really have to manage resource, which is also a tragedy because later on you will actually get resource managing abilities when you really should just be getting damage abilities, because why would I need a mana gain ability when I don't ever run out of mana? It's okay, we're already on the Lynx color ones. Fantastic. Let's do that. Let's run and gun. Jumping through. So yeah, it might be harder to find some lynxes, but we can tag them easier. 2 look at this, dude. The amount of damage that we do while moving, and we're already level 2. Already level 2, grabbing everything. I didn't even put it to auto loot. So yeah, I hate that. See, I have to do that every time. Interface, auto loot. Okay, there we go. Because we do have to actually loot this. So there we go. There's a spring paw. We'll kill this thing. My pet's gonna tag it. Gonna attack that. We'll tag this one as well. At least auto attack it. There we go. So now we can actually already level 1 and level 2. We can fight multiple creatures here. Now, if we had a dot, we would be able to literally kill multiple at the exact same time. The priest level 2 actually gets a really sexy dot, and they have a lower cast time. So overall, you can immediately see, I hope you guys can immediately see, that even with just one ability, the gameplay difference is radically different and unbalanced and unfair. Hunter, level 1, feels significantly better. All of the casting classes feel bad. All the casting classes, in my opinion, should not start with a channel spell, but instead should get their dots. They should get their dots, and they should have wands, and their auto attacks should do significant damage to actually compete with the Hunter. The Hunter is exactly the same as them in terms of the role that they play, because they are ranged DPS. And yet, here we are, doing so much more, so much quicker, with so much more versatility. So, there's that. We can turn in this quest immediately, like we just one and done it right there. We were already playing with the class. We are already, moving, because World of Warcraft, you can do that. It's not a standstill game. You can move, attack, you can, grab lots of enemies, you can grind mobs really well, and it can be fun, actually.
Glory to the Sindorai.
So if we do that, boom, there we go, getting lots of experience, and it feels really good. And you can just go throughout all this, and a lot of the abilities that you are going to get, you can actually see right here, are going to be like more damage stuff. So we have a Cobra shot that we have. We have concussive shot, which is going to be another damage. We have disengage, which is actually going to be mobility, all that good stuff. Level 10 immediate. Level 10 is going to be where a lot of classes kind of begin to start to feel good, where there's some classes like Rogue, I would say, maybe, and Hunter that are just already good to go. And then some don't, like the caster classes, don't even come to life until level 20, which is actually freaking tragic. So just to end the live portion here, just wanted to show you the very beginning, the very level 1, bluntly as possible, is the quest. They might not be too fantastic. I would say the Undead is the best starting zone, as I already did in my previous video, but I wanted to very clearly illustrate that the Hunter versus the Mage classes, and also just any melee class, is going to feel much more fluid and much more honest to how WoW is really going to play, versus just your level 1 standing still pressing 1 over and over again. That's not how WoW is really played. There's like lots of cool rotations. There is movement mechanics that's going to be, needed to be used. Even the mage, literal mage class, with blinks, blinking all over the place. Really exciting. And a lot of them do have dots and things, which is pretty cool. But that's the live portion there. And I just wanted to show you very bluntly exactly what you need to get over if you want to play certain classes. Some level better than others, which is why I'm probably going to have to suggest that you pre-order Battle for Azeroth now so that you can get a 110 booster. Also, if you subscribe, you can get a Death Knight at level 55 immediately, and that leveling experience is also really good too. So, all right, next, we're going to go into the post-play review, where I'm going to go over all my thoughts and feelings on all the different classes and the different starting zones. So that is very literally the speed bump that you have to get over. Depending on the class that you're playing, you might not be living the fantasy that you might be imagining. I think for some melee classes, you're gonna wait for a lot of resources and combo points, and I think for the Hunter, it's, pretty much immediately, you're on the roller coaster, you're having fun, but especially for mages though, it's, wow, man, you're just sitting there watching the channel bar, not fantastic whatsoever. And I think the exception to that in the mage classes has got to be the priest, where you can do some stupid fun stuff very early on as you're just dotting enemies running around. You have a very quick channel if you want to use it, and then you can bubble yourself, and you can actually have hordes of enemies on you as you're healing yourself and dotting all of them, and you can flash farm, and it's actually kind of fantastic. But in the end, at the same time, even though you can do that for leveling with the priest, that's not actually how you really play the priest, very much in the dungeons. So that's going to happen immediately. At level 10, you get specializations, and you learn that there's different ways of playing the game in the open world, and then a few levels after that, level 15, which happens immediately, like within your first hours, you're gonna start doing dungeons. And this is where the World of Warcraft shines, in a way, but at the same time, it's like a totally different playstyle from what you've been doing as a new player. So like I said, with the hunter, which is very free from, and you're just doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and you're basically never stopping, when you go into dungeons, you become a ranged DPS, and you basically just stand still, and you just kind of hit the same skills just as they go off cooldown or whatever. The low-level dungeon experience is pretty boring as a ranged DPS, frankly. Really, all of the World of Warcraft and its true mechanics come to life endgame. So even if something is kind of fun early game, that's not exactly honest and true to what the class is going to be like later. For example, like I said, the priest is very free and you can do a lot early game, seemingly, at least in comparison to its brothers and sisters, the warlock and the mage. But actually the mage is the most mobile, with literal blinks and lots of AoE nukes and all sorts of really crazy stuff that it can do, but you don't get those skills immediately, and the skills that you do get, I don't think it come in the right order, but later on and eventually, yeah, no, it does actually come to life. So that's kind of my problem and issue with the early game of World of Warcraft. If we consider the open world leveling and the questing, it's really coming down to which skills that you actually earn first as you level. So like the Shaman, I had actually a huge issue. You have a shield and a mace, level 1, but you actually really do very, very, very little damage melee, and you start out just casting channels. That doesn't make a lot of sense. They could give you a dot, they could give you a melee skill like the Paladin does, and then you can do auto attacks and just, swinging and swiping all over the place. You can move around while you do this, and that way you can actually quest a little bit faster, and it just feels better. There's not really much to dodge or much to think about whenever you're channeling in the open world level 1. It's not like there's some giant dot AoE explosion that you gotta run away from, so you have to break your channel or something. No, you're just standing still, just grinding mobs, and it's actually really boring. So for the Shaman, and for many classes, all classes, you should have instacasts first as you level. Dots especially are going to be the ones that allow returning players and people who've played other MMOs a chance to flash farm and a chance to really show and shine that skill ceiling. But whenever you just get in the game and you're a mage, and I don't know, maybe you tried other melee classes and they have auto attacks that, go in between skills, but then you're a mage and you don't even start with a wand, so you can't even auto attack. And then when you do get a wand, you think, oh, now I can, chain in auto attacks. Nope, because you can't move while auto attacking. And then actually the auto attack animation is nowhere near as fluid as it is in stuff like Dota or just any MOBA really, or League of Legends. It's just honestly really clunky, and new players are going to feel bad. If new players are going to Guild Wars 2, one of the most action-packed MMOs that I've ever played, and saying that that is more or less boring combat, then people are going to come into the World of Warcraft as brand new players and say that this is basically ancient and this is just unplayable. And in some ways, it actually literally is unplayable. It's non-gameplay. It's not. You're just pressing 1 over and over and essentially waiting for the game to let you actually really play it. Again, that's not to say that the full leveling of these classes isn't fun, because at level 20, the mage comes to life. I would say the warlock comes to life. The casting classes really then start to ramp up, and they can actually probably level really, really freaking fast, because they have giant AoE fireballs they call from the sky, and really ridiculous things blinking around. But the level 1 to 20, your free trial experience, as you're really trying to learn the World of Warcraft, is just frankly not honest. It isn't good. Even the ones that are maybe a little bit more fun, that might tease what could, be potentially awesome in the end game, still isn't exactly how that class is going to play, which I think is a great tragedy. So another recommendation I have for the game for Blizzard is I really wish that you would actually allow the level 100 trial for free accounts. That way they could see how that class actually is going to play in dungeons, in the end game, what the real rotation gameplay is going to be like, how mobile or immobile it will be, what is the real feel of those classes, and then they can start on their leveling adventure in the trial, the 1 through 20 as well. They can remake the character and retry that, and then see, what the core of the class it might be like as they level, and kind of get a sense of the theme and the role play and the story of their race. That's all cool, but then they can still know in the back of their head, hey, this class will eventually turn into that. Is it something to look forward to or not? Is it even worth this slog? And then people will have sort of a frame of reference whenever they do see the skills through their leveling book, which you can actually look at and what level you're going to earn those. And then you can kind of get a feel of, is it going to be worth it? Am I actually going to be farming faster? It looks like all the rest of my skills for the rest of the 1 through 20 is just healing skills, and I'm not really killing things as fast as I want to, maybe I should go switch to Hunter, where level 1 I was just a beast. So in closing, I actually want to talk about the different ways you can level, because a lot of MMOs do include multiple ways of leveling, and to compare and contrast that, Guild Wars 2 probably has the most plethoric ways, but then World of Warcraft has a similar number, but it doesn't exactly mean that they're optimal. For example, in Guild Wars 2, you can level in PvP perfectly just fine. In fact, you don't even have to play the class that you want to in order to level whatever other class that you want to. But in World of Warcraft, you have to make an account, you have to level up to a point to where you can start doing PvP. However, even though you do get leveled up into like level 19 to PvP, you don't actually have all the skills you need, and it's entirely disbalanced, and you don't have access to all the other different battlegrounds. You really have access to nothing, and it's not really fun. It's not really engrossing, and it's not going to give you a true sense of what real PvP could be like if you actually were truly level 19 with the right gear, the right mindset, and you had actually all those different skills. Then maybe, yeah, at level 19, I think that PvP could be fun. A lot of people actually do play at level 19. I remember, especially in vanilla, there was a really nice, weird balance, kind of MOBA-ish feel to the game. But as a brand new player, just getting access to PvP and using it to level 19 or beyond, it's not going to feel good. Nope, not at all. Where Guild Wars 2 will give you all the abilities, will make everything perfectly equalized, and you have access to the full PvP suite. Next, you have dungeons, which are pretty interesting stuffs. I think there's a few that are actually really fun, and they did remake a lot of the older dungeons, some more than others, and I think there's some interesting gimmicks, especially if it's your first time ever playing a role like, I guess, tank. If you played Guild Wars 2, another comparison, or some other MMOs that don't have a trinity, then you're coming into this and it's actually a whole new experience, especially if you're playing a healer, which is radically weird, I think. And I'm pretty bad at it, and I think I want to play more of it myself, but you probably want to do that. If you're a priest or a healer and you really want to play that playstyle, leveling in the open world could be awkward, though I said priest is actually really fun in the open world. It's just once you actually hit that specialization, then you lose some skills and you gain some others. And if you just want to play as a healer, then you can't really do that solo out in the open world. I guess if you had a questing buddy, maybe then. But really, you're going to have a lot more fun going in dungeons over and over and playing that sort of mentality and playstyle, where you just kind of spam heals on tanks. And actually, really, the dungeons are kind of face roll. They're kind of easy early on, and they only start to get hard probably at the real end game. Like, there's not really truly any challenge, and it's kind of fun. Maybe if you are brand new to MMOs, but the resource management and the danger is all in all not exactly there if you're an experienced MMO player. But if you are brand new, it can be really cool. Brand new to MMOs, brand new to tanking and healing, yes. However, DPS is still going to be extremely face roll, basically until raiding. So unlike, namely, I would say Guild Wars 2 again, or maybe Elder Scrolls or a few others, you do have more of a story impact with the dungeons, and it's very disconnected now in the modern World of Warcraft. Really, those dungeons are there to basically just ignore the quest text, just jump in and get experience to get to the real game. It's really slapped in your face over and over and over again that dungeons are kind of something that was old and dated and just kind of there to teach you to play the game so that you get the real meat of the story, and the mechanics is just the end game. Now, there's another thing that I guess you can technically do to level in this game, and that's the pet battles. It's basically Pokemon, but it actually strings through the entire game. So you get these little critters and you can capture more, and you get like a team of them, and they all have 4 abilities, and they have like passives and stuff, and they have their own stats, and it's Pokemon. And you go around and you kill other Pokemon, and you can actually level up them and you at the same time, but it's not exactly the most effective thing at all. In fact, no one of these things that I've said so far is really an effective way to level continuously, or a very fun way to level. So I definitely suggest that you kind of mix and match it. Kind of should probably do just all the things. So in this last part of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to kind of go over all the different classes and race combinations that I made and talk about why they were good, why they were bad, and then you can kind of get in a concept of what you want to do. But again, remember, like, even though this is your first steps into the World of Warcraft, into this MMO, maybe an MMO period, this might be your very first time, just know that these moments are kind of almost nothing compared to the end game. The end game in terms of gameplay is very different, but since this is an RPG, the roleplay is going to matter, at least to me, probably to you, and that cinematic kind of experience is actually done well in theme park MMOs. WoW really did it the best at the very beginning, and so if you just want to roleplay somebody with a big-ass sword, or you want to play as a certain race or something, for even if it might be mechanically boring, you just want to roleplay that, that's totally fine, I get that, and I totally roll undead basically because of that too. They're just freaking awesome. But whenever I make new characters, I do try to think about their passives, I do try to think if they would fit with the class, and I do try to think about their aesthetics. So if you saw my character creator, you know that I didn't like orcs, I didn't like Tauren overall, but I did play a Tauren Shaman, and it was actually really boring. Tauren Shaman, I did not have fun with. I felt like it didn't make much sense. Even after I got to level 10 and was able to change around my specialization, it still was much more boring than other melee classes. I played the monk, Pandaren, and I thought that was engaging to an extent, but not the quests. I played monk on a few other races as well, just to make sure it wasn't the class. Monk maybe isn't as hyper as I'd want it to be, but the panda quests were frankly just straight boring. And actually, maybe as a hunter, it could have been okay. It's just a lot of repetitive quests that just weren't really that enthralling. And there was like a part where there was a jumping puzzle, but it wasn't really a platforming puzzle. You just click where to go. That was just, oh my god, disgusting. Guild Wars 2 just completely spits on that. The Goblin starting zone was actually really fun. It was uproariously gimmicky. However, that can actually play in favor of, like, if you want to be a mage class like a warlock. I was playing that with my Goblin. And instead of boringly just watching a channel time go up over and over again, I was doing weird stuff like basically Grand Theft Auto. Like I was doing some really weird gangster shit, and it was fun, kind of. I mean, it was super gimmicky, and as a game, it really lacked a lot of gameplay, but in terms of roleplay, no, it was fun and silly. And then I was able to ignore basically the boring part of the warlock leveling, and then I finally got some abilities, I got my pet, and I was able to do stuff. So that's actually pretty good. The Worgen starting zone is a nice combination there. I think, Worgen Rogue is actually pretty fun, pretty silly. It's a very cinematic introduction, and there's actually some really cool, I think a nice flavorful mix of gimmicks and actual gameplay, and at the same time, it also puts you in the world of Warcraft, just like the Undead, because you're basically right there. You basically share starting zones, and it's really like in your face, hey, this is a faction war, this is happening. Draenei is kind of a slog. I think a lot of people hate re-rolling Draenei. I don't think it's ugly, but it's not very quest dense. There's a lot of walking around, and it's just the quests aren't very fun. Just frankly, it's just not fun. I don't care what you play, basically, it's just not the most engrossing thing. Gnome did get reworked since Cataclysm, so I guess I'll give it a pass. I'm not really sure what class you would want to play with Gnome. Yeah, I think it's got to go to Goblin. Blood Elf is also really good, especially Ghostlands. Troll was sweet. Tauren was boring, dude. Tauren is actually probably one of the worst starting zones I've ever seen in my life. Undead is amazing. And Orc is famous, especially the Lazy Peon quest, but it's not exactly engrossing or anything. It's probably on par with a human. To have any sort of fun, you have to kind of do certain things because frankly, it's just ill-designed. None of these classes are really appropriately, I think, the leveling actually built correctly, and some are just better than others. So yeah, frankly, the Hunter is probably the way to go if you want to feel any sort of enjoyment, and then you can pick, which ones might have the best cinematic introduction. Pick the one that you want to roleplay as, and I gotta say, Worgen, Undead, and Goblin are pretty alright, with the Blood Elf having some interesting difficulty spikes when it comes to Ghostlands, I think, but you can always fly to that if you're on the Horde side. And that, in closing, will actually probably segue me to the last part of your leveling, which is going to be, you could choose to do dungeoning, or you could choose to be PvP, I guess, right? You don't really want to do that stuff. You want to do kind of all of it together, but if you want to do open world zoning and questing, you can elect to go from one place or another. You don't have to be stuck in just your race's starting zone, which is actually something kind of fun with World of Warcraft. You can start as an undead and then go into the Blood Elf starting zone, and then go from there, go to Ghostlands, which is kind of what I like to do. But at the same time, you might also want to go back, maybe be a Blood Elf, and then do the Undead starting zone, or at least do the Undead secondary zone, which is where you get this really crazy cinematic battle, a lot of fun, And yeah, so you get a little bit of choice there, and as a new player, you should be aware of that choice, but also be aware that there has been a new retooling of the leveling, where it's very similar to Guild Wars 2 now, where there is a scaling system put in place. So if you want to level, like just almost like in starting zones, you can seriously do that. You can actually stick inside of zones and really complete their full quest lines and really become immersed in the roleplay, as well as actually gamifying those entire zones and maybe learning some rotations and knowing where the elite mobs are so you can kill them for extra experience. There is actually some really good gameplay here that's going to keep people in zones longer and make overall the world feel a little bit more social and better. So you should be aware of that as well, that you can go from one place or another, or if you want to, you can just kind of sit tight and stick to it and just do the do there. I think the system is coming a little bit late, but I'm glad they took inspiration from Guild Wars 2, and I really hope that they take a little bit more from that game going forward as well. So all in all, if we consider all of the good and all of the bad, I would still actually put the World of Warcraft in probably my top 10 best introductions into MMOdom. I think that there's actually some really cool stuff here, and I think it does outweigh the bad. You just have to ignore the bad. You just actually have to pretend it doesn't exist. Like, frankly, Blizzard is designing the game around that. Oh yeah, wands and auto attacking? Yeah, basically that doesn't exist. Just channel 1, please and thank you. Basically, yeah, that's what you gotta do. And I hate making excuses for games, which is why I needed to mention it and really drag out this video to mention every little tiny thing. But at the same time, there is a certain roleplay mentality that goes into this, and you have to be aware that the game is completely focused on endgame. So yeah, I'm telling you guys, the right mentality is to ignore the bad stuff, is to forgive it, because the game is just band-aided just to get you into the end game, where it's truly, truly all about, which I will be fully reviewing comes soon. Now, all this footage was actually taken from my streams, and thanks so much for a donation, a generous donation actually, that allowed me to purchase the World of Warcraft, the subscription, and the Battle for Azeroth. So I will be fully reviewing the game, and I'm currently streaming the mid-leveling with my Death Knight, and I will be doing a Demon Hunter whenever I get that in a few levels, and I'm streaming that. So please click the bell for a tell whenever I do go live so that you can check that out as we play. Thank you very much, guys, for the watching, for the hype, the keeping it alive, the love and support. And I don't know, it makes me so happy. We're 50,000 subscribers strong now, and we're going to be doing much deeper reviews for MMOs and online games, progressive reviews. That's what I want to do. Now, whether they'll be as wordy as this, I don't know if they warrant it, or if maybe I should have even done it for the World of Warcraft, but I felt kind of strongly about this one specifically for WoW, because there's a lot of things that I think are just obvious fixes. They're obvious problems, at least. And, well, for you guys, for the new players, maybe it's not so obvious, and you're just gonna think the game just sucks as a whole. It doesn't. It's actually really fun, but here's all the speed bumps. Every one of them. You need to be aware of it. There are better starter zones, there are better starter classes, and in the end, regardless, it's not honest to what the end game is actually like. So, as long as you understand that, I think you can still find something awesome, even as a trial player here in the World of Warcraft. Thanks for watching, guys. Much love, and I hope you have fun. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you in the next one.